was faith and guns.
What's up, family? Welcome to Church, Mind, and Matter. So since our last episode, event has rocked our country as a nation, as a people of faith, as brothers and sisters of Christ. There were two mass shootings that happened in the state of Texas and also in the state of Ohio. Us and the Amplify family, we just want to give our condolences for those who were affected, friends, family, associates, everyone who was affected by gun violence, everyone who is affected by gun violence. Just know that you are in our prayers, in our thoughts. And for those people, we are just going to have a quick moment of silence. All right. Welcome to Church, Mind, and Matter. I'm Tay. I bring the church. As you can see, our mind is under the weather, so we got these two dummies. No.
Oh, that's all, folks.
Right. He can stay. He got the food. He got the food.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no. But shout out to my man, A Boogie, AB. We got AB number 2, always here in the clutch. But again, we want to thank you guys for tuning in just for another episode. We took a little hiatus for a medical issue that came up, but everything is good, God willing. We're just going to keep it going. So this show, controversial topic that needs to be discussed, and it is faith and guns. Where do we put our faith? How do we put our faith? And how do we, as a people of faith, handle gun in our nation? So, as you know, 2 weeks ago, there was 2 mass shootings, almost back-to-back, I believe, within a couple hours of each other, not even 24 hours. So we'll discuss how those events shaped our faith, how they make us feel as individuals, as people of God, and how do we move forward in a Christian matter. To discuss that, we got AB number 2, again, Hoagie brother, Tony Douglas. You want to shout out anything? I'm missing anything? Okay. He's not a dummy.
I don't think he prayed this morning because he calling people dumb.
I prayed. No. And then, y'all already know who this guy is, the troublemaker, the guy with the long hair. Pastor Raimon Jackson of the Well. You see him every second Tuesday?
Every
second
Thursday.
Every second Thursday, Tuesday. Well, this is, anyway, every second Thursday right here on Amplify with Encounter the Well. So how are we doing, gentlemen?
I'm doing well.
Great. Awesome.
Glad to be here.
Yes. So we know the topic. We know that it is, it's terrible, right? It's tragic. Let's go around to say where we were and how we felt when we heard about the second one. Not just the first one, but how we felt about both when they happened.
Well, for myself, I think when I heard about the second shooting, my wife told me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been actually over the last 6 months trying to stay away from TV.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like everything on TV, especially the news, is a negative.
Yeah.
You know, and I really remember the times where news was a positive thing. If it was nothing but going into the community, and he talked about things at the community centers, fundraisers, stuff like that. But now it's all about backlash on the political scene and stuff like that. So my wife told me, and I was like, is this something new? You know, I mean, it's a tragic situation, but our society today is dictating those kind of things.
Yeah.
So I was at home.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I think I heard it on the radio, kind of in between places, and I don't know. It's a good question because I don't know anymore how I feel about it because these things have become so regular that you almost become desensitized to it. You know, numb. Like it's like, oh man, there's another one, and I mean your thoughts kind of like are, well, here's another one, and whatever the politicians say, or whatever people kind of come up with to say this is the solution. I'm always like, no, this will die down, and then a couple months later we'll have another one, you know. So I really don't know how I feel, man. That's the true honest statement. I just don't know how I feel.
Yeah. I remember I mixed the two up. Honestly, I was on Facebook and I read about the first one, and I was like, man, it's about to flood my timeline because again, you get numb to it, and then the second one happened. I was like, this old news, like not old news, but why is it coming up again? And then like I click on it, was like, oh, it's another one, and it's like, yes, you get numb. It's like, bro, like what has to happen for you just try to put your mind around it, like why, you know what I mean? It's just like I was just left with just a puzzle feeling. I was like, oh, why, like what like you know what I mean? It makes no sense. But what really got me was the coverage of it. The whole time. I mean, it really wasn't talking about necessarily when it first happened. It was all about, well, what does Booker feel about it, and what does Harry, like, I don't care, like, you know what I mean, like what steps are being taken for this not to happen again? Like, how are the families? It was like it went right to the Trump administration, and I'm not a fan of Trump. I'm not back, but it went right to the political race. I was like, give this wound time to heal. Like, we should be having prayer visuals and you know what I mean, expressing our love to these people who are affected, and we're talking about politics.
You know, it's funny, like, it's a lot of copycat situations. And in some cases, when this occurred, my first thought is, why do they keep putting it on TV? Because it's young-minded individuals that for them is giving them their 2 minutes. You know, so you have individuals that they're doing it just because they saw the reaction and how, you know, everything played out in a previous incident. So I just wonder, why is it always on TV? You know what I mean? Like, we have medias to put it on. You can put it on the news, as far as like the computer and stuff like Google. And, but as far as it being all over the news, I think it's spurring other kids when they're not mentally mature to do the same kind of.
But I think it should be on the news. Just how you put it on the news, I would say. You know what I mean? Like,
limit. You mean limit?
Well, it's like they're just trying to find somebody to blame. Like they're putting the blame on, you know, liberals are putting it on the conservatives putting it on the liberals. How will this affect the political race? How will this affect gun laws?
The blame is the individual that did it.
Right. I'm like where is it that, you know what I mean, you could just have, oh man, this is a time for our country to mourn, and like I can understand if you had like, here are the people on the scene who's doing this and that. You don't see that. You just see like, who's to blame? These policies are the reason, such and such. How is whoever going to defend their stance? And you know what I mean. You're talking about who's going to take a hit during the political race, and that just killed me.
I mean, but television is about ratings.
It is.
At the end of the day, it's a business. You know what I mean. And so, I mean, the ratings go up, and they give you what people are looking at. I mean, we might not be the ones that are glued to the TV when it happens, but you know, I remember watching a story about CNN when it kind of, you know, emerged onto the scene back when some of the things were happening with the Kennedys, and so like they were talking about how when they started airing, you know, there was like this new thing when CNN sort of popped up of like people who just really wanted to see
a new brand,
this new brand of like, you know, broadcasting. Right. And so people were like, oh, there's a market. And whenever businesses find out there's a market, whenever you know, the stock market is like, oh, there's a market, like people want to make money. Right. And so it makes money, and people literally are glued to the TV all day when this stuff happens. I mean, it could be an update, no more updates for 5 hours. People will stay glued for that entire 5 hours to like find out what's next. It's almost like reality TV. You know what I mean? Like, you want to know what's next. And so there is a market, maybe not us, but there is a market of people who are very much glued to what's going on, and that's what drives people.
Yeah. Some of the things that I looked at also is how much fear can we put in the public.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
And that's a lot of times what I take away from different topics that they're touching on. How much fear can we create
Yeah.
You know, to make you go out and get a handgun for your home, or you to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. Because I mean, they had representatives from the NRA come on. They defended their point. You know,
Right.
guns don't kill people. People kill people.
Which is true. They can't shoot themselves.
I mean,
as far as the gun,
that's true. I don't rock with the NRA because they pick and choose what is it? Castillo, the guy who right there at bear arm and was shot by the cop, had the license to bear arm, was shot. It was the NRA. But in this circumstance, now you want to. So I got my thing about the NRA, but but you know, like I look at it like I'm pro gun. I mean, I was raised with guns growing up, hunting. You know what I mean? We knew what they were. We knew the responsibility it was to have a gun. I mean, my first gun was a pellet gun. You know what I mean? And from an early age, I knew that it wasn't something to be played with. It was something to be respected. But you know, nowadays, like, how do you feel about the guns that are on the market now? That the fact that you can buy like an AK-47, you can buy a mod to make it fully automatic. You know, you can buy that special.
Those are guns you're not hunting with, first of all.
Yeah.
So to have them available to the open market for individuals to actually go buy, if they're not in a hunting capacity, like it should be some more legal ramifications to put around those types of guns, so individuals won't be able to just go buy them just because they got a clean background check.
Yeah.
So for me, when you have those types of guns, AK-47s in my neighborhood, they was definitely sweeping the streets.
Right.
You know, and it wasn't to get them clean. So when you think about what they're still doing today, why are these guns still being manufactured?
Right. Yeah,
you know, if you're not in the military, why are we manufacturing these guns to actually hit the streets or to be in any capacity, in the woods or wherever?
Yeah.
Because you're not hunting with that type of gun.
Yeah. But technically they change them slightly to make them acceptable but then you can buy the mod. You can buy the mod to make them whatever.
But I kind of want to know here too, like a lot of the studies are showing that, like, so you know, like you could do this ban on guns and everything, right? But the truth be told, I mean, folks who want these guns for these crazy crimes are going to get them. They're not, they don't have to be legalized for people to get their hands on them. So I think, yeah, I don't know what that means. I just know people buying guns, they're going to get the guns. If they want them, they're going to get them. I mean, we all probably know at least somebody, or if we want to don't incriminate ourselves, but we all have heard stories of people who have had guns.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You know, I mean, I've heard stories of people who have guns.
Really?
Okay, right. You got real quiet.
But if people want them, they're going to get them.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Well, back in the day, they used to make pipe guns. You know what I mean? So you can create a gun in your basement.
Yeah, I know that.
But you know, he told me that before we started. So I'm only going off what he was talking.
And I heard it from the streets.
Right. But it's funny because actually there are less murders today by handguns than it was in the late 90s.
Really?
A lot of people, statistically.
Like the crack epidemic and everything.
Yeah, well, that, and also I think some of it is the media is now making it seem bigger than it was. But if you look at it statistically, there were less murders by handguns today than there were 20 years ago. So even though it's increasing, it's not at the level that it was in the late 80s, early 90s.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Wow. But I mean, it's still worth. I wouldn't say we wouldn't report it because it's not as, you know.
Well, you couldn't think about it in the 80s and 90s.
They didn't have the tangible data.
I like how you put that, tangible data. So media now is like instantaneously.
Right.
So when I was coming up, it was like, okay, well, you wait for the newspaper the next day. Mm-hmm. You got your newspaper, and then you read what was like front page, and then everything else was local to your demographics.
Yeah.
You know, so if it was some kind of shooting or something in West nowhere, you never heard about it. If it was in Baltimore, you never heard about it. If it was in D.C., and I'm from Buffalo. So these kind of things I never heard about unless it was something to the scale that we referring to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look back statistically, there was actually more murders by handgun than they are today. But if you let the media tell it, we up in arms and the world is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it's the mass shootings that I think that's senseless, and then it's got people really taking account for saying, okay, where are we going with handguns?
Yeah.
But if you look at countries like Canada, I think for a year they might only have 150 murders by handguns. In China, places like that might have 15 or 20.
Yeah.
How is it the U.S. got 15,000?
Mm-hmm. Right. And I mean, I think that's a mindset. Because, I mean, you even look at London, like, you won't see a gun, but I think they lead in, like, knife attacks and you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, but...
I got a chance to run.
That's true. But, I mean, we're at a point now, I feel like, just in American society, tell somebody that's illegal to have their gun. I mean, like, how do you enforce that? You know what I mean? And I think now, as a church, as a faith community, now it's an art. Now it's something we could talk about in church because we were safe in church. But now we have people shooting up churches. You know, I can actually attest when I pastored a church. I won't say the name, but it was a mostly Anglo-Saxon church, white. And I love y'all, but we had, because I was the pastor and I was black, we had a threat, and we had to call police. And before anyone were allowed to leave, it was also happened. We had a retired police officer in the congregation, so me and him went out to check. I let him go first because he had the gun. I'm covered under the blood, but not my blood.
You brave, because I would have had to watch the congregation. I got to take home to my kids. Yeah. I'm just being honest.
I hear you, man.
I'm straight punkin' when it comes to that.
You got it. But I mean, like that is a scenario I never thought I would be in or anybody else. But now we have churches who now you have armed guards. It used to be just so nobody stole from the collection plate, but now you got to have armed guards to go to church. And I think that's where, for a lot of people, it hits home, because that was their safe haven, and now it's society. Now it's not necessarily.
It's crazy, because over the last maybe month and a half, between my brother and some friends, I've had this discussion with regards to how do I feel about handguns in my home. And so for myself, I'm against it. Like, I really believe that if I can't defend what's mine with these, then I'm in trouble. Because literally, I think it's just too many different elements that come into play when you have a gun. If your house is robbed, the gun is stolen. Now the gun is on the streets. It's definitely in the wrong hands because they just stole it from your house. But I just believe through faith that if I keep my house clean, pretty much the outside things will stay where they're supposed to stay. I think a lot of people some of the people we see that's being murdered on the streets, they're in a different type of lifestyle. They're in different situations that kind of bring those elements into play with them. But as far as my household, like I said, my brother and my friends have been saying, how do you feel about that? Because I got one buddy that's now going to get a handgun license. He's in Texas. Ironically, where one of the shootings was. And I was like, man, I really don't believe that's a good idea. As a Christian, as a man, just looking at, I try to live by faith. So bringing that element into my home, I just don't think it's warranted.
I keep thinking about Bathia. She's like, people be like, go get my,
I
got my piece. Right, my piece is my piece. But no, it's interesting because I don't know how I feel about it yet. That's an interesting take because I had a buddy who I graduated high school with years ago. Family was an amazing family, and him and his father, he had his father, his mother, and a sister all lived together. The mother and the daughter went on vacation together, and a person came in their house. It was in Capitol Heights. Came in the house, robbed the house, shot both of them dead, and they did the funeral together. It was crazy, but I mean they were faithful Christian people. So I don't know. Like I definitely hear what you're saying. I can respect that 100%. But I do also think about the families who do try to live those lives that are still victims to senseless crime. What do you say to those people, or how do you know what I mean? So I'm not necessarily arguing against. There's also those people that are innocent.
But having a handgun in your home doesn't mean it'll prohibit or stop someone from robbing and killing you.
Not all the time.
Not all the time. But most people that have handguns, and I'm speaking from our arena, don't really know how to use a handgun in terms of when it's appropriate time. How to, because you think about it, you're nervous. Just think somebody's entering your home. You're afraid. You don't even know who's coming.
If you got a lock on it,
right.
Safe.
You know what I mean? So it's so many things coming at you at one time. And then God forbid that you kill your wife while she's coming in because she came home early.
Right.
Because she was supposed to be gone somewhere. You know what I mean? So it's because your brain is just racing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So just for me, I'm just like, I would rather not have that element. So anybody out there that's thinking... You know, I'm gonna go out swinging.
Where you living? No, nah. I mean, for me, I wouldn't mind. I mean, I had them. They were in my room. You know, but we had big old
shotguns. Like my dad had a shotgun.
Yeah, you know, it was a rifle. It wasn't even a. It was a rifle. You had a. Like it was really good. Yeah, like you know what I mean.
Like old western.
Yeah, it was. You had to listen for it.
Right.
Yeah, you really had it every single time. So you know, it was for me how I was raised. It was different. We knew what it was,
right.
And everybody knew my grandfather. You knew not to go in my house.
Right.
It
You already established fear.
It had nothing to do with anything. You know what I mean? But I mean, to your point, it's just like, you know, you a kind of big guy. I mean, I ain't gonna pump your head up, but like,
you're a big guy too. That word is relative.
Don't touch me.
All right,
I'm joking.
great this morning.
I'm trying to tell you, man. What's going on today, man?
I ain't get my nap.
Right, let's check my water.
I got it.
I ain't getting
Well, there ain't no fizzy.
Just because it's clear don't mean it's water.
They got a ting to it.
Oh, you got some juice up in there.
Right. Nah, I ain't get my nap today. Y'all gotta forgive me. No, but like, you know, for those who maybe are slender frame or female, no, really, like females who might live alone, who might feel comfortable with it. I think that it depends on the situation. Like, I have 3 daughters. I just wouldn't do it because I can't see it. I can't see them having the same, you know what I mean? And my household isn't the same household I was raised in.
So if you had 3 boys, then it's okay.
No, the household. So like the household I've made isn't the same I grew up in. Like I grew up knowing the respect of a gun and knowing we went hunting. I'm not hunting.
And I think that comes into play with what you said, respect, because I think previous times people respected other people things.
Right.
It was robberies coming up, but literally people respected and valued life. Mm-hmm. You know, nowadays there's nothing to say, well, I'm gonna kill you and I'm gonna kill you. Yeah. Because I don't value your life. Yeah. Whereas people morally, they respected life, they respected other people, and there was always a line in the sand. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then I think the other thing is men generally fought with these, and as time progressed, they didn't learn how to fight. And so this picking up this gun becomes an easy way to retaliate.
Yeah. Well, I think also, right, like I think and this predates, I think, all of us at this table, but we know our history. I mean, you weren't going to be a black man have a gun in the 40s. You know, few people who were people of color would have owned a gun, and you knew that if you did, that was consequences. Probably they ever found out you had one. Right. I think we've gotten to the place where in our liberation, right, we have lost the values that we once had about community and family. You know, so I think there are a couple of different things that contribute to where we are in society. When you look at Chicago, not to talk badly about Chicago, but we do realize that Chicago has a really huge homicide rate. And we look at D.C. and the numbers up in D.C. Right, Baltimore. So in Baltimore as well. I think that it's not just a matter of how many people own guns as much as the lack of respect or the lost respect for the family and the community, right? And trying to, and even respect for ourselves. You know, like there was a time when we were trying to fight for our communities to be better, to have the privileges that other folks in other communities had. And now that we've made it in some of our minds, right? Like we're fighting each other instead of fighting outside, right? Yeah. So I think there's a big part of it that contributes to where we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, I believe I read something. I was trying to find it where it was like, it was like a high percentage, like 80 or 90% of most gun violence or homicides only in 127 cities. So to your point, it's not like it's a nationwide thing, but it's very isolated.
It's in pockets,
right? You know what I mean. So like North Dakota, they not having drive-bys. You know what I mean. But you go to, I guess, Buffalo. However y'all get down out there. He gonna fight me when it's over.
We don't.
I ain't never getting another cheesesteak ever.
The murder capital is this way. Buffalo, we lay back.
So New York, I guess New York.
Nah, that's up there.
Still, really?
Yeah.
I would think that New York would be.
I'm 6 hours away from New York.
The city.
Oh, gotcha. So yeah, it's like
New York's pretty big.
So I don't know what's wrong with me, people. Y'all, I need everybody to pray for me.
I don't either.
Nah, the holy water.
The topic can be an uncomfortable topic.
Yeah, it can be. But go ahead.
So no, I was going to say that there was some statistics I had looked up myself, and it's interesting because when you talk about faith in guns, one of the things that I'd seen was that there's a majority of white evangelicals who own a handgun carry it with them, 65%, versus 57% of all gun owners. But it also talks about how white evangelicals are more likely to believe most places should allow citizens to carry guns than all folks who do carry guns.
That's amazing.
It makes me think about, when I came up in school, I went to private Catholic schools, and so prayer was the beginning of the day. Mm-hmm. You did the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah. But you don't see prayer in schools anymore. I think a lot of even the private schools have taken prayer out. So you got kids who might not go to church on Sunday, might go on Easter or whatever. Where are they getting their learnings from? As far as really being rooted to say, okay, this is wrong and this is right. Not just on the basis of this is math, this is science and English, but there are moral issues you need to understand.
Yeah.
This is wrong and this is right.
Yeah.
So for me, when they took prayer out of the church, out of the schools, it seemed like things just kind of turned. When they took discipline out of schools, because the schools I came to, the nuns was heavy with their hands, so we had rulers, and so it just seemed like everything went to turn. It's almost like single parents in my neighborhood. It went from the community helping each other out to a single mother. Don't you touch my child? Don't you don't talk to my son that way? Blah blah blah. Right. But your son just ran through my grass and then skidded his bike and tore up my grass. Like, are you gonna say something? No, we're not gonna address that. Yeah. Don't talk to my son. So things tended to change, and with that change comes consequences. So you can shift to the right or the left, but you better believe it's a pendulum. So someone's gonna swing with it.
Yeah.
That's funny. I was looking at a statistical report that said that like the majority of folks, especially those white evangelicals that we're talking about, but the majority of folks who are in church, affiliated with faith, felt like part of the problem, or the biggest thing they attribute to the problem, was the fact that not enough prayer was in schools and not enough faith was being taught in the school system.
I believe that.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. But and it rings true, because it wasn't like faith necessarily in my school, but like I was raised in a fairly old school Christian dynamic. My whole neighborhood were cousins. Everybody could with me. It didn't matter. Mr. Mott up the street, right. Miss Dorsey down the street.
Take you home.
Yeah, and I'm in the middle, so I didn't get whoopings in school, but I knew I was getting one when I got home.
Right.
You tell me on the phone.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So it was that kind of dynamic. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but music has a lot to do with it as well. And when we're talking about just not necessarily guns in particular or anything in particular, just the way we the moral construct of how mainstream music nowadays is, it kind of is that live for today type, not worry. I can't believe I'm saying that because from the last episode you was on, but it does have a lot to do with that. And you made a point to single parents. When I worked in education, I worked at a school that dealt with like an alternative school. and a lot of it, you know, the kids will come in, you know, they were dealing with a lot, but then you call home and you realize
Ain't nobody there to help them out.
they're dealing with the same, that's who you got. It wasn't just you. It was the surrounding. So if that's what you're accustomed to, you know what I mean.
Go ahead.
Yeah, please.
It's like you can go through Baltimore tonight, or even DC, and go out at 11:30, and you see kids outside. You'll see kids going to the store. Man, that was unheard of. When the street lights came on, you better have been in the house.
Yeah.
You know, you had a note.
Yeah.
It's $5 in a note.
Right. You know. So I know I'm gonna get a beating when I get home because my wife just called me and I forgot to tell her.
Oh man, I'm glad you don't have guns again.
I might be another statistic.
It's interesting. I struggle with that because you don't get me wrong. I do believe that there's power in what you listen to. I did watch the episode you all had, but I also think that can become an scapegoat for bad parenting. You know, I mean, there are tons of people, both my age and younger people that I've helped raise or kids that I've schooled that are amazing people, but listen to some of the craziest stuff, but are good people because they were raised up with good morals and standards in their household. So I'm careful. I don't think that that's always the true story, but I'm careful not to make it the scapegoat for bad parenting, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that goes hand in hand, because if you don't have that proper ground, if you don't have that moral guidance, then what do you go to? The thing that you hear. So it's kind of hand in hand. You can't, you know what I mean? I wouldn't say one without the other, because I mean, I used to listen to DMX and everything else, but
right, a wise man is only able to use good discernment through his learning.
Right.
You know, so like you're saying, Tehran, if you have a young adult who's filtering their mind with these thoughts, but nobody's there to direct those thoughts,
right,
then you're probably going to sway to the side of, that's what they say, tote my gun, kill this person, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And that's my outlet. I'm going to kill you because you disrespected me in front of my peeps. You know, and the reality is, okay, you disrespected me, but in my day, it was either we fought it out with your hands or you just walked away from it. My father used to always say, if you about to get a good whooping, it's always good to run because you can fight it. Now you can't even run no more because they shooting you down. You know, like, it's no value. It's a different time. It's a different generation. And a lot of it started at home. You know, schools and churches can only give you so much. But your foundation is actually laid within the walls that you're living in, between your parents, your grandmother, your aunt, whoever is there.
Well, that's a good point. What do you think the church is doing to rectify that situation? Guns in general, the public perception, how we operate in our homes. Do you think like the church is doing a good job of?
Well, I don't think it's the church responsibility to monitor your home in terms of that type of issue, but it is the church responsibility to kind of filter in understanding.
Yeah.
To say, hey, Paris, this is where we are today, and this is our topic. To give us good insight and help us use proper judgment.
Yeah. Because you have different people of different spectrums. Like you have those evangelicals, you have the conservative as far as Second Amendment, carry everywhere it goes. It's my right. And then you have those more liberal, or I hate using conservative, but more liberal who shouldn't have guns, should be outlawed, and it's kind of double-edged swords either way you look at it. You can see both parts, and honestly, I always say really the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. There's probably some kind of middle ground that we can both share. I wouldn't say that topic is enough to necessarily divide the church per se, but it is something to say. If you don't have a unified message, do people actually hear what you're saying? So if we have these people on the left saying this and these people on the right saying that, knowing that theology is a whole nother bag of worms, we could talk about where we stand on certain things as far as creation, the sac. This is a great show. whatever your theological background is, denominational backgrounds, whatever, baptism. But when you do have a unified message, you know, I feel like it hits harder where this church right here says one thing, but this church down the street says another thing. You know what I mean? We're already divided as a Christian family just in the small things. And then when you're talking about mass shooting, you know, it might give one church or denomination or sect more of a advantage on saying their point than another. So now they look demonized where this one is kind of on the forefront. And really, in any other day, the roles could be reversed. You know what I mean? So it's a weird thing that's happening with the church when we got these topics, and you kind of alluded to it too. Like it's just a different time, and I'm a young guy. You know what I mean? It's just
really
most days I'm still a young adult. I got 3 years left, I think.
His reaction is great.
Right. Exactly. But it wasn't that funny, cuz.
See, I'm cracking up.
You
They
watch.
both right.
You disrespected.
I know.
It's about to be a toot.
He does own
That wasn't smart. See, look, you see what he trying to get me. No, but you know, it's just a different. It's just I can remember growing up. It's just different, and just that little time period of being adolescent to adulthood. So, you know what I mean. It makes you wonder where things go from this point, because it's like you say, media, it does sell to have this type of stuff on here. So for those who have a different mindset, for some we say it's terrible and we pray about it. For others, you know, they might give them new life to say, oh, this is how I can such and such.
It was ironic. The other day I was sitting up watching this TV program. I won't say the name of it because I really can't remember what the name was. But the topic was on white supremacy, and they talked about basically how people think that this movement with white America just started with Trump, but they're saying no, it actually started with the election of Obama, and so people in places like North Dakota, South Dakota that weren't voting, they became angry.
Yeah.
And said, okay, well, how do we fix this? And it took them a minute for the masses to really say, let's go out and vote. And that quiet group that there's always talked about, the young, white, uneducated, or uneducated individuals, I won't just limit it to white, went out and voted. The reality is the program also talked about history repeats itself.
Yeah.
So the period we're in now, it's going to eventually calm back down, but it's going to repeat itself again. And they went as far as back as what happened in the 20s, the time of Adolf Hitler, and that whole mental belief that white supremacy or any type of supremacy is the direction. If the masses is thinking like that, people should go in. And so it was amazing just sitting there listening to it, going how people actually thought, you know, cleaning up genocide and, you know, let's make a pure race. And they even were showing like different researches that were being done where they were killing off people, like actually killing them off, injecting them with different stuff. And I'm like, wow, you know, and I know crazy things were being done, but just to watch this program, and it was on the BBC network. So,
I ain't gonna say it, but it was on the BBC.
Right, I said I'm not gonna name the program. Right.
So y'all just watch BBC for a little bit.
Right.
What day was this?
I got
daytime,
right. So and it's funny because I have a new cable program, Wire TV. You ever hear that? It's live streams. So now I'm gonna plug y'all Wire. For $40 a month, I'm getting 500 channels, and so but it's all streamed. So I get all the football games, I get all the basketball games, hockey, whatever sport is on. There's so many baseball games on right now. I'm like, wow, you know. But it's all streamed, so it's almost like clicking on your computer and making it into the channels. So I actually disconnected my cable. I was like, DirecTV, see y'all later. You know, but I like to have the ability to watch something else. And my daughter's into Spanish, so she's watching all these Spanish channels, so she can learn Spanish. But that one particular program caught me, and I was like, wow.
There was, I can't remember his name, African-American bald head, wear the glasses, Van something, but he was on CNN. He was like, it's whitewash. You know how to...
Is he a commentator?
Yeah, he was a commentator for CNN.
Don Lemon?
It wasn't Don Lemon. He was the bald head. He's always on. He's not a commentator. He He comes on as a guest
Oh,
commentator.
gotcha. Okay.
But he was like, it's whitewash. It was
I
just
give you 12, 15 different other people.
I know.
they ain't got. Well, yeah, they do. Yeah, but he was like, it was whitewash. It was like white America's, as you said, it was their response to Obama. So you know, those type of things happen. I guess, but
Well, without, I'm gonna say this first. My dad, for me, you know, everybody think their father was the greatest person, the greatest father. You know, my father always kind of. My sister said this before. He threw us little nuggets, you know, like insight. I grew up where my parents always said, "You would never see a black president." You know, and that was the mindset.
Right,
you would never see a black president.
Yeah.
So I grew up thinking, well, I could never become president. I ain't never going to see a black president. But ironically, both my parents got to see that before they passed. But my father used to always say, by the time black people get stuff from white America, it's already beat up. So this country was in disarray by the time President Obama got it. So the norm became, well, look what he left behind. Now, I was jacked up when he took office. And some people felt like he didn't do more while he was in office. But what I believe is it's only so much you can do.
right.
The system of things only going to allow you to change so much. You know, and the reality is it went back to, quote unquote, their proper owners. Right?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
A vicious one.
Yeah. But I mean, and that lends itself to, you know, that's his base. His base is those people who are pro gun. So, you know what I mean? And the question is, how should I put this? Does he deserve credit almost for empowering those people who have more of that mindset for mass shootings, if that makes sense? You know what I mean? They kind of, the media will lead you toward that direction to say, you know, okay, this is Trump's America where we have these mass shootings because his base are those right to carry, buy those machine guns, and now look what we have.
Well, they were occurring before he became president. One thing that I can say that I like that the president said was, he said, we become a society where you can't say what you want to say. You know, because people's skin used to be thick 20, 30 years ago. Go to the 60s. Our skin was real thick. Now it's 2019. If I say, Tehran, I don't like your hair, you up in arms because I'm not believing in wearing locks or dreads and this, that, and other. You know, you can't say something that could have been simple dialogue. Well, why did you do it? Or what's the reasoning behind it? You got to tread softly because you may take the impression that I don't like it.
Right.
But I'm just trying to come to an understanding of why was it that you gravitated to that?
Right.
Or what's the reasoning behind it? Because I might be thinking about growing some dreads.
You're right.
Locks.
Or locks.
100%.
Right, locks.
We do live in a highly sensitive country right now.
Right.
We do.
Yeah, like it's crazy. I don't. It's interesting because I'm listening so much because I don't know we kind of like cross the spectrum, right? Like we talk about guns, and you can almost talk about guns in the black neighborhood, and then you can talk about guns in the the more conservative places, and then you talk about these guns that are responsible for the mass shootings, and you've got three different spectrums of people. You know what I mean? And I don't know that the cause or the root is true for each one. You know, I think that's why it's so hard to kind of find out what the solution is.
Right.
Because I don't know that anybody. To your point, almost, I don't. One of the things I get upset with politicians is like we get up, we spur because it's the issue that dominates the moment, right? But I think sometimes, well, people don't want to hear this. I'd rather hear a person say, I don't know what the cause and cure is. I don't.
Right.
I mean, because I think if there was, I think we rush to it. But I don't think there is a true end in sight of what this is, right? Because I think in order to get to the end of something, you got to know the root of it. So you can pick up that root. I don't know that there's a root. Every mass shooter is not shooting for the same reason, right? Every mass shooter doesn't even know each other. So we can't always, I mean, it's just no way to totally know until we've done more research with these folks who are doing it. And a lot of times a mass shooter ends up dead, you know. Not always.
Used
Not,
to.
Yeah, you're right.
Nowadays,
Now they get
You're right.
Burger King.
They get 3-day meal plan.
Yeah.
And they sleeping for the rest
Yeah,
of the day.
it's more the black folks doing.
We'll leave the light on.
Yeah. So I don't know. I have a brother who owns a gun. I got a couple brothers who owns guns, and I love to have their part of this conversation if they were watching. But I don't know, man. I don't know that I just think it's so much more research to do to try to figure out what the cause is for a lot of these folks.
Miss Kim says, shout out Miss Kim. Open and civil conversation has been demolished. Diminished. Excuse me. Diminished. That's true. That's very true. I think it's, and I mean, it was always true, but now to a point, I think that the loudest voice gets heard the most. You know what I mean? So depending on, it's like I said, an event happens, it helps your argument. You're gonna jump on it, especially now with like you said, news. Everything has to be fast, up to the minute. You know what I mean? 24-hour news cycles all the time, breaking news on your timeline with social media, or if you're watching TV, you'll always get that little trigger says breaking news. This happened, and before you know it, everybody's jumping on what happened, this happened. You know what I mean? Everyone's looking for something to blame rather than saying, again, we don't know. You know what I mean? Guns is it's a systemic problem that we don't have a systemic answer to. We can make a program to solve one particular part, you know what I mean? But that doesn't solve the systemic problem. Yeah. So I say we get rid of all guns somehow. Well, London did that. They lead all countries in stabbings. So, you know what I mean? Does that still happen? It's just with a different, weapon. I mean, we ain't have that. They probably doing slingshots. You don't know. Or like Davis going around. You know what I mean? You just don't know.
I think our situation, as far as our culture, is unique to. It's different from white America's situation with handguns. I think our children are reared a little differently in terms of. I was watching a white individual today, and he was hugging his son, and his son was about 7 or 8, and it made me stop for a minute, and I really sat there saying, we need to do that more with our kids, but in a lot of cases, the father's not there with the kid. In terms of the mom and dad, they don't broke up. He don't went about his way, blah blah blah. So our situation is just different. So for me, I always say, in order for our situation to change, we have to control that situation. I don't think laws, government, and stuff will be able to reduce the amount of homicides that we have in our community. It's us having to filter back into our community. Hey, respect each other, love each other, and really mean it and embrace it before it's actually going to change.
Can I jump on this real quick? I just want to say this too, because I know that we reach an audience. You reach an audience, and I want to be careful in how we narrate the story. There are a lot of folks, especially folks from, people of color and people not of color. And this is not against anything we've said. I just want to make sure this true narration is out there. So statistically, our culture, particularly black folks, we see less of our folks entering into the prison system. We see more and more of our folks who are getting college degrees. And we see more of our folks who are entering into the top markets of the workforce. So I just want to make sure that's out there. There are some things we have to clean up in our neighborhoods. But I don't want people who are watching to get the wrong perception that we're still in a place where we're doing nothing but the prisons and we don't see our families united. Because we do have good black men who are heads of the households or who are family men who are receiving higher educations, who are entering into the workforce a lot more stronger than what we used to. And I want to make sure that it's out there because too many times people watch stuff and they hear the negative and they run with the negative. And so they miss that positive. I just wanted to make a mental note to point that out.
It's funny you mentioned that. I took my nephew up to Morgan State this weekend, so he started this week is freshman week.
Okay.
And it took us 2 hours to get probably 3 miles for me to drop him off.
Oh yeah.
And unload the car. So literally, by the time I got to the front, him and his buddy was running up to the car, unload. But they had their biggest freshman class in the history of the school.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there. I thought it was everybody coming back to school.
That's
So
just a freshman.
Saturday was just a freshman. So it blew my mind when I said, man, why did they stagger this out? And so the lady was like,
We did.
Excuse me, sweetie, but this is only the freshman class. It's the biggest in the history of the school.
Wow.
I was proud because it made me start thinking, wow, is it that we are now saying, let's come back to the true essence of what we did in the 60s and 50s and, you know, taking
Like
responsibility to educate our own and looking back at those opportunities at black institutions. And I was like, wow. You know, the largest in its history. Like, man, that for me, that was amazing.
That's great.
You know?
Kim Carr says, yes, our media drives a frenzy. What's up, Britt? Chris says, I'm watching. Thank you. He also says, video games and movies has desensitized people to weapons as well.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I call my brother that I was saying earlier who was watching.
I don't know, because I play video games a lot, and I ain't never, like, want to go Call of Duty on nobody. Like, I mean, I guess that's true. I can't say for a fact that's not, but...
Mental illness is real.
Yeah.
And so, and so, you know, I have to jump in, but mental illness will have lines skewed on what you're watching and then what you're putting into your spirit. And then, I mean, for you, you know, it probably won't rock you. But those things that if you're having some mental illness, it might sway you one way.
That's true.
Yeah.
Kind of like what he said about music earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear people talking about mental illness more today than ever because one or two ways to look at it. There's more people with mental health issues because they just weren't being addressed 20, 30 years ago. But I also liken it to it's a lot more doctors wanting you to have mental illnesses, so they're prescribing things for you to take because it seemed like it's a large number of our young kids being put on different prescriptions for ADD. Instead of talking to the child and finding out what's going on, it's just give them this because we don't want to deal with this. This will calm them down.
Well,
But I was gonna say, I'm sorry, I'm jumping in.
That's
No,
the voice.
it's fine.
That's the voice.
That's
That's the
the voice.
voice. That's the voice.
The voice of reason.
But I think that you're correct in that they're prescribing a lot more. I think the issues probably are the same. They may have grown greater with life, but it is mental illness is also a very spiritual thing. It's a spirit illness.
that's true.
And so because we're dealing with principalities and there's less faith out there, then mental illness is growing, and then that's why people are going mad. You know, so if you if we're dealing with the spirit and it's transferring into a mental illness, and we have less faith out there, then we're in trouble. So anyway, sorry.
Come in, throw some nuggets and leave. Nah.
Vanessa's on.
Miss
Chris's sister, by the way. That's
Okay.
their brother and sister.
Kim says, yes. That's how she was
Was it yes to the voice?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Jackson.
Let's see. I agree with desensitization, along with the culture of valuing lives of others. Very true, very true. And we touched on that, not as much as probably we should, but I guess my stance on the on a mental illness, especially in the education field, and I hate to bring it back to the color thing, but it's just the context I know, so I'm gonna run with it. The school I worked at, it was two sides, right? And one side was for children who had slight emotional issues, and the other side was for I'll just say quote unquote bad kids. Most of the people, bad kids, were black. The other ones were Asians, whites, Indian. Now if you go to both sides, there's a difference. You know, they're there for a reason, violence and what have you. But when you look at the underlying cause, it was mental illness. Like, you was like, man, you got ADD. It was never addressed. But where I don't know, Day, you mark him as a bad child. Juan or whoever else, Mark.
No more ethnic names.
Mark, Luke, whoever you want to say. You know what I mean?
No Mark
Johnny.
and Luke's. No Mark and Luke's.
Well, I'm saying like Johnny. He has ADD.
Right.
Same underlying causes. It's just one is more aware, or one has maybe it is one has a better parenting system and one doesn't. So now he just gets thrown as a bad kid. When really, you know, he had the same issues as John. It just was never addressed.
Absolutely, institutionalized racism.
Yeah, what he said. You know what I mean? So, and I guess that's where I come from. I come from it. I saw that and it kind of desensitized me to you know, mental illness. So it works like that sometimes. You know what I mean? I mean, I can remember, and to your point that you made, you know what I mean? They said I had ADD, but you know what worked? That belt. My grandmother in a belt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I ended up going to college.
But I think that diagnosis was probably right.
Is the show over?
I mean,
No. He gotta have his moments in, man.
I got him early. You trying to get me back, and I was late.
You done shot your shots.
I shot him too early. Now you're coming back.
It's amazing how some things come back to perception.
Yeah.
And I always, for like 15 years, so this is my title, and this is about to be a copyright moment. Through the whites of their eyes. How are you being perceived or viewed? You know, so behind every set of eyes, there is some perception being done on how I'm viewing you. And I always just say, I'm going to write this book. It's going to be called Through the Whites of Their Eyes, how people are perceiving us as far as a
Did
whole.
you copyright it?
I just did it. So, yeah, I can always pull this back and say, hey.
That's it.
It's tape.
13.
Right. Just pull up the show.
I got you. Let's see.
That's a poor man's copyright.
Yeah, it is. The only other thing you do is meditate.
Right. You know about that.
Music, man. I like music. I got you. I'm with you.
Absolutely spiritual warfare. I'm sorry, Kim. Absolutely spiritual warfare. I want everyone all the time that we are in spiritual warfare. She not lying. You do. Let's see, Chris. What's GTG?
Go to God.
Oh,
Good to go?
good to go. Go to God. Amen.
Got that gun?
Chris, what are you talking about? Because I was cool until you said that. I need.
Yeah, hey, bro. I need
You go to God. What's the context of these
I
bros?
think it was go to God.
Okay, go to
I
God.
think so. Let's see what he says.
Did you pray this morning, Chris? You prayed this morning?
because I think there's a little bit of a it's slower on our when they're watching.
When
this.
they're
Yeah, it comes at a little delay.
Go
Yes,
to go.
go to God.
Go to go.
No, go to got to go.
Got to.
Got to go.
Oh!
Okay.
Thanks, Ness.
Bye.
You know what? And on that note, we got 2 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, man.
So we're
The
going
voice
to
of
do.
reason.
We're going to do final thoughts on Guns. This has been a great show on Guns and Faith.
I just think your faith or your Christian belief, your walk, determines where you are on this subject matter. Like I said, for myself, I don't believe in my household that I need a gun, unless you move next door, take right now. I just think the church also can't dictate how you are on that spectrum, but they can give you some useful tools so that you can come to a clearer understanding of where you should be on your walk with regards to guns.
Definitely.
Man, my mind is everywhere with this. But I guess as a final thought, man, like I think that Jackie and as Kim kind of mentioned, I think we don't do enough teaching of spiritual warfare. But you've got to have a foundation in spirituality to even go there. And a lot, because of our lack of, or the removal of faith from our institutional schools, that's hard to do. But I do believe, that it goes back to how people are raised. And I don't mean just individually by their families, but as well as their communities. I think the reason why we see crime rate up, and it's not that I disagree with everything Trump says or does, but I think the rhetoric that he causes does speak to the level of hostility in some folks. And I think we as a culture just have to do a better job of uniting ourselves and loving each other within our communities.
I think it lends itself, and I've said it a couple times, to the respect of what it is that we're dealing with of a gun. And I believe Miss Vanessa said it, of life. You know what I mean? When it is that we respect life. You know, we are Christians. We love God, love our neighbor the same. You know, pointing a gun at somebody should be the last thing that we ought to think of. So, you know, for me, it does all go back to faith. And even if it is something where you believe in a right to bear arm or not, the fact of the matter is, you know what I mean? Ask yourself, what would Jesus do? Would Jesus shoot that man or woman? Would Jesus be carrying around a gun? If you say it's for self-defense, what makes you think you need that? You know what I mean? So, you know, God did not create us to fear, so it kind of lends itself to that. I think it's just a tragic turn of events that has happened, that is happening, and you know, I just pray for this, for our country. I pray for all people who are subject to gun violence, whether black, white, or everything in between. You know, so. All right, family, that is the end of this episode of Church Mind and Matter. If you would like to see this ministry, we do have a Patreon account. If you go to patreon.com and just type in Church Mind and Matter, you get all type of benefits. For one, you get a nice little bracelet. You also get to know the topics before we even talk about them, so you'll be up to date. You will also get one-on-one squad meetings. I use your word, squad. With Amplified Network and Church Mind and Matter. All you got to do is go to Patreon, or if you would like, you can go to GoFundMe for a one-time donation of your choosing, and just type in again Church Mind and Matter. Amplified Network. Be sure to like, share, show everybody you know. We're also on YouTube, so if you want to watch it on YouTube, you can. Again, Amplify Network, and go to the playlist of Church, Mind, and Matter. We want to thank Hoagie Brother AB number 2, Tony Douglas, and you want to give a plug?
Yeah, I'm just waiting on Jackie and Terrence to throw the party so I can bring my food truck out this way.
Yep.
So whenever they do it, because there's a lot of people asking, why don't I come in this direction? But everything is based on having the proper licenses and stuff like that. But on private property, I'm good.
Boom, boom.
So we'll do. Maybe we can do a Church Mind Man episode or the well. And you bring out the truck and we'll go from outside.
Do I get a free cheesesteak?
Absolutely not.
See,
I gave you free wings. Well,
they didn't give me free wings.
Oh, you weren't here that day.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
I need to taste this food.
Kim says, please have a part 2 on violence. Great discussion.
We'll do. We might have you on for it.
Yep.
And she said, yes, food truck.
Yeah. Put that in. Right. Yes. We want to thank a brother from another mother, same father, Raimon Jackson, church planner, pastor of The Well, entrepreneur, music extraordinaire, producer, songwriter.
Child of God. That's the best.
That's it. You want to hit a plug?
The Well, every second Thursday of the month is live here with Amplify. And then on the other Thursdays, you can follow our website, encounterthewell.org. And we're that same thing on Facebook. We're that same thing on Instagram, Encounter the Well, on all of those platforms. You can follow me at Raimon, Raimon Jackson, or I am Ray Jackson on Instagram. And I'll be on the lookout for a big announcement from me towards the end of the month.
Man, he did a mean plug.
Yeah,
he did.
The Buffalo Hoagie Brothers. I got a webpage now. I'm on Instagram, Buffalo Hoagie Bros. Right. No, but seriously, I do have a webpage now.
Yeah. Since he gave his IG, Pastor Tay 87, and that's it. Peace, love, and blessings. We love you. Church Mind and Matter, Amplify Network. We out. And now
Kim says we need the Well needs t-shirts.
The Well needs t-shirts.
We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
I got a guy for you.
For the I Declare campaign as we go along.
I Declare campaign.
Yep. Right.
Get your shirts.
Yep.
That's right.
Declare it.
Yep.
Amplify. Yes. And Hoagie Brothers.
It's my clean version. Oh, you didn't notice that, did you?
Yeah.
So when you want to wear it and you go into the concert, you ain't got to have all the words on there.